Hello, all, and welcome to this Friday afternoon's whiskey review, which I am dubbing the. I played Colonization for 3 hours and then my computer crashed, and yeah, I was swearing up a storm, friends. I was cursing up a storm. So, what will we be reviewing today? Well, as I mentioned in the previous review, Randall, my dad's friend, and I guess my friend now since he's giving me so many free things to review, has donated several bottles of his for me to review, and I am definitely looking forward to reviewing each one. So we're going to start with one that I've never seen on the shelf here in Hawaii. I don't know if it was mail order or if it was gotten during a trip of some sort to the mainland. But this is the Whistler Irish Whiskey. Sit and whistle a while. My whistle is pretty dry, so please excuse the lack of noise. So, yeah, the finest in malted grain whiskey aged in bourbon barrels for sweetness, then taken and finished in the finest sherry casks for complexity. So, let's read the back, shall we? Distiller Select, double oaked referring to as aged in two different barrels. This premium Irish whiskey expression is crafted in small batches using Ireland's finest Irish malt and grain whiskies. So it's a mixture of single malt and single grain whiskies. I believe, if I remember correctly, the internet, it was 20% single malt and 80% single grain. Our distiller selects the finest whiskeys matured exclusively in bourbon barrels before transferring them into our signature Oloroso sherry casks, creating a complex and full-bodied whiskey. Now, there's no age statement on this, so and this is from a distillery called Boann Distillery in Ireland. I'm probably slaughtering that name since I don't speak Gaelic. But it's a fairly recent one. It's only a few years old, and you can kind of see this is really, really light colored, even for an Irish whiskey. So I'm kind of wondering if it was just aged minimum legal minimum amount of time, which I can't recall off the top of my head. I believe it's either 3 or 5 years, something like that. So yeah, 40% ABV, aka 80 proof. Let's go and pour it out into the Glencairn, shall we? And I did a quick, you know, pre check of this last night. But after two large beers, I kind of question how well my palate was working at that point. Hmm. So slightly floral, honeysuckle. No, I forgot to do coloration. You can see it is very pale. This is one of the palest barrel aged whiskeys I've ever had. You can see the legging here. So floral, honeysuckle, slightly doughy grains. Overall, kind of on the muted side. Some fruitiness too, but indistinct. Yeah, very muted, which is strange. This is not chilled or anything, so it should be. You can see I'm putting my nose right into it. And yeah, floral, slightly fruity, doughy grains, and well, onto the palate now, shall we? This is decidedly on the hot side, that is for sure. I mean, it's not rough, but it is definitely hot. What I mean by hot is, of course, alcohol heat. And that's strange because, Irish whiskeys are triple distilled, and they generally try to go for smoothness over bold character. So up front, some fruitiness, but not really super distinct. After the fruitiness comes a bit of spice and wood, as well as a subtle sweetness on the tongue. And a slightly woody, somewhat bitter, long finish. Top note is not much different than the actual nosing. Maybe just a bit more wood in there, along with those other fairly soft notes. So yeah, that fruit is up front, kind of transitions into some spice, some oakiness, good deal of alcohol heat there throughout. The heat is not up front, at least. I'll give it that. You know, so you get some of that sweetness and some of that fruitiness there before the heat really ups the ante. Yeah, um, there's really not too much to write home about this one. And honestly, I think what it really needed was more time in those barrels. It looks like and tastes like something that hasn't spent much time in the barrels. And that would tame that alcohol heat a good deal, as well as give it a bit more character. The nose and palate on this are just really, really muted. it's just too young. Um, your mileage may vary, as with all things. Now, as I didn't buy this, you know, I can't really attest as to price point. It seems to be in between $30 and $40 on the websites I looked at, which means that this is not really worth what you're paying for it if it is in between $30 to $40, because there are cheaper Irish whiskies that are smoother. That's basically what you're looking for in the typical Irish whiskey, and by typical I mean the sort of triple distilled Irish whiskey. And that's kind of sad because you know, like I said, I got a little bit of that sherry flavor, I got a little bit of that bourbon flavor, but it's just not enough. So, you can see I'm a terrible whistler. But the Whistler Distiller Select Double Oaked. It may be double oaked, but it needed more time in that oak. And again, I'd like to thank Randall for donating this bottle for review. And yeah, that is your whiskey review for this afternoon. And there's probably gonna looks like there's gonna be a big rainstorm coming. It's 4:30, but it's fairly dark already, and I know it's pouring on other parts of the island. So we'll see what happens, what the future holds for us. That, folks, is your whiskey review for this evening. Slante.